Hello, Sunshines, and welcome to another episode of Directions from Your Spiritual Tour Guide podcast. My name is Chanel Scott. I am your host and your spiritual tour guide, taking you on a little journey into clearing today. This has come up a lot lately. I've done a lot of clearings for spaces. And it just seems like something that everybody's really interested in. So I thought I would do a little bit more in-depth podcast about clearing your space and clearing your own energy as well. This energy that we've been experiencing lately has been really heavy. A few people have kind of described it as feeling like something is sitting on your chest, like you can't get a deep breath. So I think it's a really important thing to acknowledge our personal energy and how we can shift and change that through clearing and cutting cords. I know I talked about this before, but I feel like it's time to readdress it just because of the energies right now. And like I said, it just keeps on coming up every time I mention I've done some clearing. As somebody asks about how to do clearing or if I can come to clear their space. So I feel like it's really important to empower you to take that on. As I've said before, for me, this journey is really about supporting others on their spiritual journey as well. So I want to give you some tools today to help you to cleanse and clear your own energy. And one of my philosophies is that spirituality should be simple and accessible. So, as I often say, there is no right and there is no wrong. There is what works for you. And that's what's most important here in doing clearing. Now, most people will use some kind of smudge or incense to do a clearing of a space. This is a really big, kind of an energetic piece of it that helps us to kind of see the energy and see the smoke that comes from it and how that moves in our space and watching it kind of being sucked out that door to kind of release it and let it go. I'm not a huge fan of smudge. I don't like the smell of it. That might come from the fact that I am allergic to trees and grass, and we're burning a plant. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't love it. But I do make smudge spray. So I do make a spray like a perfume or a room spray that is a smudge spray with cedar and a few other little things in there that I love to use to really quickly and easily clear my space without the factor of smoke. My personal favorite for clearing space is incense. That's how I like to clear space. I love the smell of Nang Champa and I love the energy that it brings to the room and the way that it feels when I've cleared a space with it. Others will also use San Palo. Again, I don't like it actually really affects my breathing. It is a San Palo wood that is burnt. It's beautiful. It has a beautiful scent to it. Again, I'm allergic to trees. Who knew? Girl who loves nature, but sometimes those trees and grass bug my nose and my breathing. So those are the three things that are used kind of most often to actually do a clearing in the space. Now, we can clear with essential oils, we can clear with energy, we can clear with crystals, we can clear with Reiki, all sorts of different things. But a more kind of traditional clearing is using that smoke to kind of clear this space. For me, I know that I can use energy and intention to clear space, no problem. I do it all the time. When I teach yoga, I always clear my space. When I do energy work, I always clear the space. But I find when I'm clearing, kind of really clearing a space out with a lot of intention, with a lot of purpose, I really like to use incense. So I had the pleasure of being able to visit an old Masonic temple that is being converted into a bar. And I had the pleasure of being able to just check out the space, make sure everything was energetically okay, and clear anything out of there that needed to be cleared out. And it was actually very beautiful. The original builder of the building came through and very much gave their blessing on the space and what it was being used for. That his original purpose was community and gathering, yes, as the Masonic Temple and the Masonic Lodge, but now that it is no longer that, he still is appreciative that it's not being used as a residence, as a lot of people, that's what they wanted to purchase it for, but it's actually being converted into a space that will still embody that community feeling, that coming together, that socializing, that gathering and celebrating life. So it was very interesting what I was drawn to do when I went to this clearing. And I did use incense for this clearing. And the majority of the building actually felt really great, but the space that they used for their meetings actually needed a little bit of clearing work done. And it was interesting when you watched the smoke from the incense as I lit two, because it was a bigger space. I lit two, and there was periods as I was moving through the space where it was like the smoke got heavier and thicker and billowed a lot more. And then there was other times where the smoke had just kind of tapered out and was barely there. You could barely see it. And even at one point, I had moved from the center of the room where most of the clearing needed to be done. That is where they spoke from. They had a podium. So that is where a lot of the energy needed to be cleared from. And I moved through that and needed to clear the windows. So we often do that. If you're clearing a space, and I'll explain this, you go through and you clear the door frames, the windows, and you move around the room. I'll give you a more detailed description, I promise. So I was clearing the windows, and I got a couple of windows across and had the urge to turn around and look. And there was this last kind of like ball of smoke, maybe not quite as big as a basketball, a little bit smaller, that was lingering there. And it was interesting because I had moved from the center of the room, done a few windows, and then turned around. The smoke from the incense from the other windows had already dissipated, but this smoke in the center was just holding there, like we were supposed to acknowledge it leaving. It felt really beautiful, and almost a little creepy all at the same time. But this space felt really good after we left. We also left some crystals and some salt and some things to just do a little bit of clearing. So let me get into actually how you clear your space with incense, smudge, or San Palo. So you definitely want to have something that your ashes are falling into, because regardless of what you use, there's going to be a little bit of ash. So you want to make sure whatever that is not flammable. A cowrie shell is really a popular choice. When I used to smudge more often, I had just like a little tin kind of tray almost that I would use, that I would put it in. Incense, I have like an incense holder that I will sometimes use just to kind of knock off the incense. I find the incense, you kind of don't notice it as much, and I'm terrible about kind of spreading the dust around when it comes to incense. What you want to do is you want to start at an open door and move into your space. And as you come in, you're going to circle the room, and you're going to go around any door frames and any windows. You go around it, and then you move on. You go around it, and you move on. You can linger anywhere in the space that feels a little bit heavier and needs a little more attention, but that's typically how you'll move through your space. You kind of make a plan before you start about how you're going to move through, and then come back to that open door or to a door in the back of the space, if you have a front and back door, to clear that smoke out and clear out the energy. We want to let that energy, the energies we no longer want in the space, to dissipate and disappear. So finding a pattern for yourself that will clear the space until you come back. Then you want to leave those doors open just to allow whatever's left to kind of find its way back out again. After that, you should notice a significant difference in the energy. It should feel a lot lighter and easier. Now, you can also use crystals. I have like carnelian at my front door. That helps to clear, and it's also protection. You could energetically place crystals underneath your home or your space. Even if you're in an apartment, you can create an energetic boundary around your apartment to allow yourself protection. And I use the word protection really lightly here. We're just not getting bombarded by other people's energies. It's not that we have to protect ourselves necessarily from other people's energies. We just want to keep our space feeling good, right? But even in an apartment, you can create that space. When I worked in an office with cubicles and there was a lot of us, I energetically put a bubble in my cubicle so that I would really kind of only invite people in that wanted to like be there more socially in a positive manner versus somebody who was gossipy or brought negative energy with them when they wanted to chat. So you can use that for creating that clearer space. It's nice to do a clearing when you get a new space, so a new house, and do a little blessing. Again, it doesn't have to be anything huge. It doesn't have to be anything like, we don't have to look up a house blessing. Literally, you could just go through and smudge and create your own little blessing. Thank you for this beautiful space, for, the rooms, for the roof over our head, a place to be safe and protected from the elements. Whatever it is that you want to share, that's your blessing. It doesn't have to be this intricate thing. Even smudging doesn't have to be this intricate thing. However you want to use it, however it feels good for you. Maybe you just turn on your essential oil diffuser and let it run in the space, knowing that as that scent billows through the house, that it is cleaning and clearing away the negative energy, cleaning and clearing away the heaviness that exists, and washing it away, opening that window or that door and allowing it to kind of free, to escape and be gone. Now, you can also use these same things for clearing your own energy in your own space. I love using my feathers and my incense and just kind of bathing the body with the smoke to wash away any negative feelings and emotions, wash away anything that feels heavy, just kind of clearing my energy and clearing my space. I often do this in the morning before I start work in my office. It's part of my routine. Pulling cards, burning a little incense, taking the time to clear my own energy before we get going. Now, again, you can use essential oils or wear crystals to help clear your energy. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about today was cords, because that's another big one that we should acknowledge when it comes to clearing our energy. Sometimes it's the cords that we have that are actually feeling the heaviness or the dragging down that we feel. Cords, whenever we interact with anyone in our life, we create a cord that goes between the two of us. Now, sometimes that cord is like a tiny piece of spider web that breaks instantly as we move away from that person. But sometimes the cords are big and heavy. Now, our cords towards our children can be cleansed, but they never really go away. We're connected to them, unless you absolutely needed to disconnect. But typically our cords to our children stay connected all the time. Our cord to our spouse is probably going to stay connected most of the time. But it's those cords to people that weigh us down or feel heavy. Even coworkers, for example. We are corded to our coworkers and our customers or clients or students, and allowing ourselves the time to disconnect those things before we even come home can help us to lighten and leave work at work. When you go to get in your car, maybe you just do a stomp with your feet and give a little shake as you dust off any energy from the day, any energy from work. You could even just do a little cord cutting to disconnect from those you had to interact with all day at work, especially if you have a job that is kind of heavier. If it's, a little more traumatic or, stressful. It's really important to find that disconnect. Same thing, past relationships, family members, we're on social media a lot, so we can court ourselves with those people that we connect with there. And it's important to disconnect from those things. Again, there is lots of different ways that you can do cutting of cords. You can energetically see yourself cutting them, removing those connections between yourself and the other person. Forgiveness is another way that helps to disconnect cords. Now, with forgiveness, we have to make sure that we're forgiving on both sides of things. You need to forgive yourself for your part in the situation, as well as forgiving the other person for their part in the situation. Regardless of whose fault it is, we all have a part in the situation, and so we need to forgive for that to really actually create that disconnect. When we do that forgiveness on both sides, it helps us again to cut that cord and remove that connection to that person because we no longer energetically need to be connected to them. Now, if we continually circle back to that situation, we reconnect that cord every time we come back and have that drama again. So the cords will come and go as we interact with people, or even just going into the thoughts and feelings of those things, those emotions that are connected to a situation will reconnect the cord again. So it's important to take the time to find the way that works for you to do that disconnect. So intention, imagining cutting it with a scissor, using that forgiveness method and watching it dissipate. Maybe you just use meditation. You close your eyes and you get connected and you see that cord between the two of you and it dissipates. Maybe you light it on fire and watch it kind of dissipate and disappear. There are some beautiful guided meditations out there to use. Archangel Michael is common. He has the blue sword, and that will help cut cords. He does a lot of work with cutting cords and cutting kind of energies, clearing energies. So you can call on Archangel Michael. Maybe you can find a guided meditation from Archangel Michael. But there are lots of things out there to help you to find that disconnect. The big part here is, in the end of it all, do you feel that lightness? Do you feel like you have been unplugged from whatever it is that has been weighing you down and allowing yourself to release it and feel energetically lighter? I love using Reiki to clear my energy and cut cords. It's something that really works for me, and it's something that I can do really easily and quickly to just shift my energy. Another beautiful way to create that disconnect is to use gratitude, to give thanks for the relationship and all that it has brought you, and to release it with love and let it go. This is a beautiful way to cut those cords and release them. When your kids are feeling really heavy, this is a time to do a release, knowing that that cord will come back to you again in love, and we can kind of cut away some of those things that feel heavier with us. I hope I've given you enough information on cutting cords and clearing your space. It is definitely something that it can be really beneficial to do on a regular basis, to just really lighten your area, to lighten the spaces that you live in and work in, to lighten your own energy from the people and the surroundings that you have. I love being invited to do house cleanses, do house blessings, and to do energy work. So know that you can always reach out if you have any questions. And in the Divine Map membership, there is monthly mentoring, and in those sessions, there's an open call. And if you want to talk about clearing, that's a great place to talk about it too. If you're interested in Divine Map, give me a DM and I will give you some more information on how to get into the Divine Map membership. Thank you so much for being here and listening, for taking this journey, this adventure with me. I hope that this information, these tools are helpful for you in just lightening your load over the next little while, especially with the holiday season coming. It's always a great idea to do a little extra cleaning and clearing of your energetic space just to get through that holiday season. Thank you so much from my heart and soul to yours. Have an amazing day.